Welcome and thanks for joining us for Haiku with Ann McCrea. Today's virtual event is brought to you by members of the Time Trade Network of Greater Newburyport. We miss getting together in person for our member gatherings and appreciate being able to use this space at Tinker House, where we can safely socially distance while bringing you a virtual presentation. Tinker House is one of our member organizations and has been very supportive in exchanging with us for office space and other events. It's a space to create with wood, yarn, clay, metal, paper. A place for all ages and skill levels to share tools, knowledge, and ideas. So if you have questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat as they occur to you, and we'll answer the questions at the end of the program. And now here's Ann.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Conrad, for welcoming me today to read and talk about haiku. Thank you, Mary McDonald, for lending Tinker House to us, a space to create. I'd like to acknowledge at the beginning my teachers, Rena S. Belot and Alfred Nicole, and my fellow poets from our ongoing workshop with Alfred Nicole. I'm pleased to be presenting this program about haiku. First, I'll read some by 3 Japanese masters from the past, showing how they illustrate the forms and themes of haiku. I'll include my own haiku as well as we go along, these written over the past 7 years, and conclude with some examples of my art combined with haiku. Of the 3 poets often referred to as classic, Basho lived from 1644 through 1694, Busan from 1716 through 1784, and Issa from 1763 through 1828. Each came from a different social class. Basho from an aristocratic family of minor samurai, Busan from the landed gentry, and Issa from a rural farm. Their social standing shows how haiku became available to an ever-widening group of poets, teachers, and students. Each of the 3 were sent to Edo, now Tokyo, to study. All earned their living as teachers. Busan as a painter. Under Basho, haiku evolved from hoku, a 3-line poem, the given starting point of a long chain of verses called renga. These were composed on the spot at rowdy gatherings, fueled by alcohol, going on for hours with numerous verses. Haiku emerged as a single syllabic poem, using neither rhyme nor meter. It consisted of 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables, respectively, and continues to be taught as such today, though there are often exceptions now as in the past. Traditionally, nature has been haiku's most prevalent subject, especially the seasons, the moon, birds, and flowers. Poets writing haiku were provided specific lists of words for them called kigo. Basho warns against elaborate figures of speech in the rhyme, all this nonsense about moons and flowers being pricked by the cold's needle. By using direct words and common speech, a common common words and direct speech, the present tense, and all the senses, haiku offers the reader an immediate felt experience. And I will be reading the haiku 2 times since they're so concise and so short. Busan wrote, "Green plum, it draws her eyebrows together." Green plum, it draws her eyebrows together. This gives the reader a sense of the plum's tartness through his description of the taster's eyebrows. All this is conveyed vividly and succinctly in 10 syllables. In Basho's winter solitude, in a world of one color, the sound of wind. Winter solitude, in a world of one color, the sound of wind. We feel the cold of the snow, experience the spaciousness of its prevailing whiteness, and hear the sound all the more, of the wind all the more because of it. Sound, sight, and touch complement each other. But haiku is not merely a serene evocation of natural beauty using sensory imagery. It holds our attention by offering us a fresh perspective and keeps us off balance. How? By using an unlikely combination of subjects and images, such as this one, observed on my walk along the Merrimack River. An eel escaping from the cormorant's mouth again. An eel escaping from the cormorant's mouth again. The eel, an arresting subject, especially when seen coming out of the cormorant's mouth, conveys a writhing motion so vivid we can almost feel it. The last word, again, gives us a sense of the struggle involved. Here are movement, the sense of touch, and the strange sight of those images. The strange sight of those birds, 3 images. This haiku illustrates the juxtaposition of unlikely images and the jolt which comes from it. This collision is created by images of all the senses, not just sight. Here's another I wrote. In the dark, lit by lightning, the slanting rain. In the dark, lit by lightning, the slanting rain. Though use of the present tense creates the immediacy of haiku, the subject matter can be recalled from one's past and provide a way of fixing a treasured memory. The following is a recollection from our vacations at Lake George, written some 73 years later. Summer meadow. Warm strawberries stain our fingers. I love the M sound. Summer meadow. Warm strawberries stain our fingers. Here we have the sense of touch, summer's warmth on the skin, the feel of the strawberry's red juiciness, which we infer from the stained fingers, and the sweet taste of those warm, ripe strawberries. From that same place, with strong, steady sweeps, my father scythes the meadow. the scent of sweetgrass. With strong, steady sweeps, my father scythes the meadow, the scent of sweetgrass. This March, observing the supermoon at its fullness, I wrote, fingers of light through the turkey vulture's wingtips, the gold moon rising. Fingers of light through the turkey vulture's wingtips, the gold moon rising. People may not associate humor with haiku, but the awareness and keen observation haiku require provide fertile ground for the wry, the unlikely, even the ridiculous. Some examples. Boussons. Cover my head or my feet. The winter quilt. Cover my head or my feet. The winter quilt. Isa, who loved to write about insects more than any other poet I've ever read. Mosquito at my ear. Does it think I'm deaf? Mosquito at my ear. Does it think I'm deaf? And these two, inspired by our wonderful Newburyport Chamber Music Festival at the rehearsal. A little boy plays along with the string quartet on his banana in perfect time. A little boy plays along with the string quartet on his banana. And the ponytail of the young cellist keeping time. The ponytail of the young cellist keeping time. And in this pandemic, we're all out walking more than usual, seeing each other more than usual, than we would be passing each other in cars. And this is one thing I saw and chuckled at. The red-faced father pounds downhill, chasing the son's scooter. These little kids, are almost shorter than the scooter handle, and they are maneuvering amazingly well, and they really go fast. The red-faced father pounds downhill, chasing the son's scooter. The sound and length of words play a part in haiku. Here are two versions of a heron on Quill Pond in Newbury. Daylight fading. From reeds on the pond's shore, a heron's beak. Daylight fading. From reeds on the pond's shore, a heron's beak. This has 14 syllables and flows along from line to line. A second version. Out of the reeds, stabbing the dusk, the heron's beak. Out of the reeds, stabbing the dusk, the heron's beak. Is shorter, more percussive, with its two Ks, beak, dusk, and better suits the heron's lethal beak, which was my main impression. And on that same pond, one evening, enveloped in fog, the darkened trees' reflections move over the pond. Enveloped in fog, the darkened trees' reflections drift over the pond. And it was as if the fog were a screen that the reflections were somehow projected on. Or maybe it was the shadow. I feel it would take someone who knows about optics to describe why. Haiku were written using calligraphy in 3 vertical lines, reading right to left, often on paintings. Art, which uses one art form to express another, is called ekphrastic. E-K-P-H-R-A-S-T-I-C, ekphrastic. Before writing poetry, I worked with clay and collage. Here are some ekphrastic works with both media. The first, my sculpture, Totem, from the 2009 Maudsley Outdoor Sculpture Exhibit. It was displayed in a log on the pond behind the Rangers building. If you look carefully, you'll see a live frog on the right, gazing up at this trespasser. And it also gives a sense of scale. At that same pond, I was inspired by the following. Turtles in the pond, 2, 3, 4, disappear beneath my shadow. Turtles in the pond, 2, 3, 4 deep, disappear beneath my shadow. And now, though I don't think you can tell from this picture, the background is gilded. It's a lovely kind of gold, soft gold, as if it were gold leaf. And this one is painted by Okyo, O-K-Y-O, or Okyo, and titled appropriately, Pine Trees in Snow. Pine boughs bending under a coat of snow, a cold, crisp scent. Pine boughs bending under a coat of snow, a cold, crisp scent. And the next one, you'll have to look to the left to find the subject, the boatman, very faintly depicted just next to the tree on the left. It's painted by Taiga, and the title of it is as long as the haiku nearly. Raft floating down the river at Arushiyama. A boatman glides under the cherry tree, blossoms falling. A boatman glides under the cherry tree, blossoms falling. And the next one, very difficult because I use this fragile silver paper, almost like silver, like gold leaf, almost like a silver leaf. And you'll have trouble seeing the moon in the river. It is there, but hard to see, though you can see it up on the top right in the sky. So you have to imagine it. And this is another one by Okyo titled Autumn Winter Landscape. Carried along by the silver river, the floating moon. carried along by the silver river, the floating moon. And I think the L's in that, along, silver, floating, they all create a sense of sort of water flowing, a liquid sound. Now, this one is titled appropriately, Peonies, and painted by Chikuden. Written after I bent down, looking closely at a peony to inhale its amazing fragrance. And this is what I saw, something surprising. At eye level, ants opening the peonies, such sweetness. And because you just see how beautifully shaded those pinks are and that warm golden in the center. At eye level, ants opening the peonies, such sweetness. Now, these are from an accordion book, which along with the collage were in an exhibit at the tiny gallery of the Unitarian Church. And the book is titled Along the Merrimack, and it has photographs I took there, each coupled with a haiku. Give me a minute to get it up here. Is that good? Rust and green. Two bridges dance and shimmer on the river. Rust and green. Two bridges dance and shimmer on the river. And that, those bridges, it's the rusty bridge that goes from Cashman Park and crosses the river to Salisbury. And then to the right of that is that beautiful aqua colored one, the modern one. And I love the fact that you couldn't really see the bridges, just the energetic reflection that we're moving on the top of the river. And this one marsh grasses rise from the river, splintering the moon. Actually, it was the sun. But I thought it looked kind of like moonlight and somewhat silver. And I love the sound of the word moon to end with that instead of sun. So marsh grasses rise from the river, splintering the moon. Now, to conclude, I find writing haiku has made me more aware of the beauty of the tidal rivers, marshes, ponds, and trails which surround us, and the various seasons and weathers which cause their perpetual change. This is especially important during the pandemic, which has brought many of us grief, loss, and anxiety. The awareness that haiku requires and helps us develop can increase our gratitude for what is. Studies show that such thankfulness contributes to our well-being, mental, physical, emotional, and I would add spiritual. I hope this program will have piqued your interest in haiku, that you will find some to read and perhaps even write some yourself. Here are a few books I have found helpful. Now, the first is in our Newburyport Public Library, and it's one book that I think sort of, it doesn't, I should have looked, but I think it goes up maybe to the 80s. It's not right to the present, but they're more modern. And it's a wonderful anthology, the Haiku Anthology, the 3rd edition. It's a paperback. I checked these out with our reference librarian, Jessica. Now the second, the Essential Haiku, versions of Basho, Busan, and Isa, edited by Robert Haas, I used a lot in this program. And that is not at our library, but can be lent by the consortium, the Merrimack Consortium. And they'll get it for you through Newburyport. The third is one I would buy, if I weren't buying too many, the Haiku Handbook, How to Write, Teach, and Appreciate Haiku by William J. Higginson and Penny Harter. And that is in our library. Now there's a little, I gave Elizabeth the wrong word. It's the Haiku Apprentice. The Haiku Apprentice. So charming. Memoirs of Writing Poetry in Japan. And you can possibly get that through Jabberwocky. It's not clear whether or not it's out of print. If they can get it, it will come slowly. But it tells so much about how common these small groups are in Japan that meet together, critique each other's work, read, critique each other's work, and then they have little journals they publish it in. And everybody, people from all walks of life come. The last one is easily purchased through Jabberwocky. It's the Everyman's Library Pocketbook of Haiku. Thank you for being here on this gorgeous day. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too. Now, perhaps some of you have questions. Hi, Peter. I have 3 familiar faces. I didn't think I'd know anyone. It's so nice.
Sorry I was late.
That's all right. Yeah. You're here.
I had an international Facebook with one of my families, so I had to attend that.
That takes priority for sure. Chris?
Yes?
Did you have a question?
I didn't have a question, but I really want to thank you for Ann for this presentation, because you made haiku very touchable.
That's what I wanted.
Very touchable and inspirational in that sense. You know, that it isn't outrageously difficult. It's really very touchable.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Great.
I have some questions for you, Ann.
Good.
May I?
Fire away.
Okay. The first one, I know we've been practicing this program, and I've been just wondering about these. So my first one was, what is it that drew you to haiku from all the different forms of poetry? What spoke to you about haiku?
First of all, I'd like to say that I worked first with clay, and that is heavy, and it dries out. It requires a kiln and all of that. So as I got to a certain age, I decided I would look toward another art form, which would be perhaps in some ways more accessible, collage, which I've done for about 9 years or so. And I do love it. And I I needn't go into that now, but I found that I have a quite small apartment, and you have to spread out a lot of stuff to have a lot of stuff available, the way I work with collage anyway. So I was asked to go into this poetry workshop, and I love the idea that with haiku, you can take a little pad and a pencil. That's all you need. It's very, very portable. And I'm really bad at organizing things. And they're easier because they're so short. They're easier to keep track of. Plus, I really mean what I wrote at the end. That for me, it is a way, almost I would say, a form of worship. And I moved here from Brookline to be where there are tidal rivers, and I didn't have to choose between an ocean and a river. I had both. So it's helped me enter that in a different way, our terrain. Yeah, I think those are the main reasons.
Do you say, okay, today I'm going to sit down and write haiku for an hour, or are you just out walking and all of a sudden you're inspired?
Well, I will start backwards. Lately, I had a very unusual experience because it's been hard to write during the pandemic, I find, write for my workshop, which now means only once a month instead of twice. And I was looking out the screen thinking I really should be writing something. I want something new, not just to revise what I've already been doing. And there were droplets of water clinging to the screen, backlit, and they were just sparkling. They were like little crystal droplets. So that was thinking, I hoped that I wanted to be able to write a haiku. Other times at work, at church sometimes, and I count the syllables, I sometimes look out the window. I wish I could remember the one I wrote. Through antique glass, the buildings beyond become calligraphy. I was on the spot, and I do call them from walks along, my different walks. And lately I've been doing some more, as with the dad in the pandemic, pounding after his son, escaping on the scooter downhill. I've been doing more with some people in them too. So, but I don't, I used to take a little pad because I can't remember them for beans. I think them as I was walking, and then I would forget by the time I got to the car. So I have tried to do them, right when I walk. Does that answer your question, Elizabeth?
Yes, yeah. Just wonder, anybody else have a question? Comment?
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. I've done some haiku a long time ago, and I thought this maybe would inspire me. And again, I think just being in this time of COVID when you're with yourself so much,
Yes.
I might be inspired.
And you can go outdoors.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That is allowed. That's one thing we can do.
That's right.
And I hope, I think it really helps to read them. I think Elizabeth asked me earlier what I might recommend to somebody who might be interested in writing them. And I think it's really wonderful to just sort of bathe in a whole array of them. And as I say, there are some good books available through our library system. And also we can support Sue at our wonderful Jabberwocky and get a book from her maybe too.
Right.
But I had a wonderful time through the village with a 4 a 4 session workshop where they wrote. It was specifically for them to write, and some about haiku. So, you know, as Chris said, it's available.
Right.
And I'm very glad if it doesn't, to be honest, I have a lot of trouble with the poetry with rhyme and meter. So that might be another reason I like writing haiku, because it doesn't require rhyme and meter. I'm kind of bad with rhythm. I'm a bit wonky with rhythm. So,
was that, I can't remember if haiku was something that you were offering to the Time Trade Network. I know that certainly this presentation is something that you're doing for us that we can share with our members, and we're going to share beyond the members too. But
I'd be delighted to do a class. I haven't done it with the Time Trade Network, but I would love to do another class. I missed that class. I wish, you know, we met at a very lovely house, and there were very good refreshments, and we had a lot of fun in that haiku workshop. There were many perks, to be very honest. And, you know, I guess it's hard as the weather gets colder, but you know, it would be hard. I don't know about doing it on Zoom. I don't have Zoom capacity at my house, so Elizabeth and Conrad know how low and meager are my tech abilities. So, but I would love to do it. And if we could figure out a way, and there are people interested from the Time Trade Network, I would love to. As you can see, I enjoy it very much.
Yes.
Great. Well,
I thank you for being here on such a lovely day.
thank you for doing it, Anne.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Time Trade.
Yes.
We're just
It was lovely, absolutely lovely, Anne. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very uplifting
Oh,
and
hi.
inspiring.
It's Deanna. Hi. I didn't
Hi,
see you.
Anne.
You're not on my screen here, so
Oh, huh.
anyway,
And
glad you were here. Well, everyone enjoy the weekend.
And I
Yes.
just also want to remind you all that we did record this, so we'll be making it available for people to view it who weren't able to see it today.
Good. Excellent.
So, yeah. Or if you want a refresher, you want to watch it again on a cold, snowy day.
Yeah.
We might have one or two of those.